Welcome back to the show. Now, the role of social media in spreading fake news and causing devastating privacy breaches is one of the most hotly discussed topics of the modern age. But with all the scandals and fears, have powerful platforms such as Facebook and Twitter actually suffered in terms of growth and revenue? And with increasing suspicion regarding social media sites, are users becoming more cautious? That's our discussion. Joining us for this discussion today is Mr. Thomas Donahoe, who is the CEO of Level Agency and author of the CEO's Digital Marketing Playbook. He's joining us from Charleston. We're also joined by Ms. Eva Miluna, who's an international law expert, joining us from Lativa. Thank you both for joining us and welcome to the show. Mr. Donahoe, I'd like to start with you. Now, give us a sense of how the numbers and figures have been in terms of growth trends and revenue for social media platforms, specifically Facebook, in the past year or so. Have they been going upwards?
Sure. So not just for Facebook, for Twitter, for LinkedIn, for Google, every one of those four major platforms in 2019 has seen moderately explosive year-over-year growth. And I'm talking 16, 20, upwards of 30% year-over-year increases in revenue. So they've had a very good year, every single one of them.
Right. So what do you think is pushing those numbers up?
The primary driver of every social media platform's good year, and Google's and LinkedIn's, is the fact the economy is still quite good, certainly in the United States, and that is the primary driver. The more companies spend on advertising, the more that they can advertise their products to consumers, and consumers are buying them, they'll spend more money. And certainly the economy has been quite good in 2019.
Right. Mr. Donahoe, now most people are becoming aware of the fact that something of privacy, their privacy being leaked, has to do with the fact that Facebook and social media is collecting their data for more targeted advertisement. And even with all of that, with all these scandals, it seems like Facebook's advertisement revenue is increasing. While Facebook itself is saying that it is increasing its restrictions on privacy, it's going to be more careful this time. Help us make sense of this. Is Facebook doing anything about its privacy controls?
So the simple answer is kind of. Agencies like mine are the pipelines for their revenue. And so just to give you a high level, Facebook this quarter will probably make about $20 billion in revenue. Google's going to make about $40 billion. And that's just in the past 3 months. Advertisers, whom we represent, and the other hundreds of agencies like ours that funnel hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to Google and to Facebook, to be very clear, it's not that we don't care about the impact of social media on culture, their duty, or their lack of restraining fake news. At the end of the day, advertisers will spend money on any of these platforms if they can put dollars into the system and get out customers at a good profit, a good cost per acquisition. So it's not to say that advertisers and Facebook don't have a duty to put their products on a platform that observes and respects the truth. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a business relationship. And so advertisers care about dollars out and customers in. And right now, specifically Facebook and Google make our clients a ton of money. So as long as the active users are going to respond well to advertisement, they're going to keep spending money. And just to Leva's point, every day there are 1.5 billion people on Facebook. That's the daily active users. So the audience alone, to say nothing of the profitability, they're going to have a good year and they're going to have a good next year, regardless of the degree of fake news, to be honest.
Right. Mr. Donahoe, now you have given us a sense of the relationship between these social media platforms, specifically Facebook, marketers and advertisers. But I do want your take on the relationship between Facebook's and the users, especially the ones, the common users, those who are on these platforms. Do you think their relationship has changed in any way? Do you think Facebook, let's put the marketers and advertisers on the side, do you think Facebook is doing anything more than, let's say, the last year to protect their privacy?
Sure. So they've done a bit. They have, with the upcoming elections in the United States, especially the large presidential election, they have made some restrictions and some efforts to curtail fake news when the advertisements are coming specifically, or when the messages are coming specifically from a political campaign. So they have set out new regulations that will police and curate to an extent and fact check political advertisements. But as we shared before, that does not include what we'd call political action committees or advocacy groups. So Facebook in particular, as an example, they've done a bit. They certainly have, in the past 3 or 4 years since the 2016 election, where they're from not naming countries, but some countries did actively try to disseminate fake news to average users. There have been some efforts to either restrict their access, these individual fake accounts, and there are certainly aggressive efforts to not allow those to advertise. But at the end of the day, there is still going to be a significant amount of individual profiles that might spread disinformation, and certainly paid advertising will do the same thing. So they've done a bit, but I certainly don't think Facebook in particular has, across the board, been very aggressive. I don't you could say that.
Right. Mr. Donahoe, now just a last question to you. Facebook came out with saying that it wants to set up its own court constitution of sorts. It wants to become more hands-on. They want to create a news tab which will have journalists that are going to curate news. They want to do more in order to bring in the human element to bypass the algorithms. They want to focus on the person more and more. But given that it relies primarily on advertising revenue for its profits, do you think it's realistic to expect anything actually happening, any practical steps being taken in the future?
Sure. I think first and foremost, even if Facebook was purely dedicated to policing or curating or providing a great experience with humans checking humans, it would be absolutely impossible. Every day, as I said, there's with 1.5 billion people just on Facebook, it's completely impossible to staff or to have employees policing or checking everyone's post, or even a very small percentage. So from a manual effort standpoint, even if Facebook wanted to do that, it's going to be very difficult at the individual level. Now, certainly they can police or curate or focus on the honesty, the fake news versus not fake news for larger followers. So individuals or groups or pages that have tens of thousands or millions of followers, that's very possible. But back to your question, I don't really think it's about the revenue. Look, Facebook, as long as they provide a good platform for advertisers to spend money, as long as there are billions of people, they spend hours a day on these platforms, and the nature of the ads are really effective, as long as that equation continues, they're going to make money. But I think your point is, what responsibility do they have? And what does the responsibility of the consumer look like? And on one side, the consumer, keep in mind, human rights or not, this is a voluntary participatory construct, right? It's incumbent upon the individual to use Facebook or not use Facebook. So the question is, what responsibility does Facebook has to provide consumers with a good experience? So I think in the future, it might not be in 2020, maybe in 2021 or 22, I would guess that Facebook in particular might get into the journalism or content creation space and not just be a marketplace of ideas. I think that's possible. But again, to the consumer standpoint, people are voluntarily using Facebook. It's an entertainment platform. And so a large percentage of the, not risk, but the responsibility does fall on the consumer.
Right. On that point, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Thomas Donahoe from Charleston. And thank you, Ms. Eva Maluna, for joining us. Thank you for watching Indus Special. We will see you again tomorrow with more stories. Till then, goodbye and take care.